He was the kind that fixed your tire, then stayed for a prayer. Had dust on his boots.
Welcome back to
but
Vibe
love in
Podcast.
his
Today we're
stare.
discussing George Zinn, a
Never
political
asked
gadfly
for
or
much,
crisis actor,
just
a topic
place
researched for
in
us
the
by David
fire.
Morgan. I'm joined by Charles and Angela.
Hello, Alice. I'm Charles, and I spend my time investigating the often murky world of illegal adoptions, particularly children taken from foreign countries. It's a field rife with hidden histories, much like Zinn's.
And I'm Angela. My focus has been on George Zinn's direct involvement in the Charlie Kirk assassination case, entangling the facts from the online speculation and understanding his long history of disruption.
Let's dive into Zinn's background. Charles, your area of expertise touches on his early life, specifically his adoption from Greece. What did David's research uncover about this?
This is where Zinn's story immediately caught my eye. The research indicates George was adopted as a child from Greece by a Latter-day Saint family and raised in Utah. What's striking, and unfortunately all too common for that era, is the almost complete lack of verifiable documentation for his biological and adoptive parents. He was part of a wave of Greek children adopted by American families in the 1950s and 60s, a period notorious for incomplete records. It makes tracing his biological roots incredibly difficult, almost as if he emerged from a void. And tragically, his adoptive parents died early, leaving him, as the research says, completely alone on the planet. That lack of foundational connection resonates deeply with what I see in my own investigations into such adoptions. These are children with serious attachment issues that often leads to criminality.
That's a profound start to understanding him. Angela, stepping from his early isolation, the research details a life marked by conflict, especially with the church, and a constant search for belonging in public spaces. How does this early pattern fit into his later behavior, particularly in the Kirk case?
It absolutely sets the stage. Even in his youth, Zinn developed the habit and the knack of being backstage, often trying to insert himself where he wasn't officially supposed to be, like attempting to sing with the tabernacle choir. This escalated to physical confrontations and ultimately, a legal ban from all church property. That completed his isolation. He had no other friends or society. What we see from that point onward is a consistent pattern: an unstable personality, unable to hold a job, constantly seeking attention and interaction, however negative, at public and political events. He became a political gadfly, as described by the Salt Lake County District Attorney, Sim Gill.
Political gadfly is a term that comes up repeatedly in the research. Charles, can you elaborate on his history within political circles, particularly his Republican Party connections?
While not my primary area, the details provided paint a picture of someone consistently orbiting political events. When he was jailed for fare evasion, former GOP state chairman Richard Snellgrove actually launched a fundraising drive for him. And at the 2012 Republican National Convention, some Utah delegates tried to get security to let him stay. It suggests a long-standing, if often problematic, familiarity. They showed grace to someone with clear mental challenges, as one statement put it, for decades. It's a complex relationship of tolerance mixed with eventual condemnation.
And that eventual condemnation came sharply into focus with the Charlie Kirk incident. For decades, he was known for disrupting events, asking long-winded questions, and making inflammatory statements. He showed up at the Kobe Bryant trial, bypassed security at the 2002 Salt Lake Olympics, and was a regular at promotional movie screenings until he was banned. He even claimed to be a 9/11 eyewitness, though details are inconsistent. These are all examples of his need to insert himself into high-profile situations and become part of the narrative.
Which brings us to the event that catapulted him into national headlines, the Charlie Kirk assassination. Angela, walk us through what happened on September 10, 2025.
Moments after Charlie Kirk was fatally shot at Utah Valley University, George Zinn approached police officers and shouted, "I shot him, now shoot me." He repeated this false claim, even urging officers to shoot him, creating the immediate impression that he was the killer. Officers quickly noticed he had no weapon. He was handcuffed and detained, and later, at a hospital, he recanted. He admitted he fabricated the confession to help the real shooter escape and wanted to be a martyr.
And what were the legal ramifications of that false confession?
Significant. Zinn was charged with second-degree felony obstruction of justice for deliberately hindering the investigation. But then, a far more disturbing revelation came to light. Investigators found over 20 images of child sexual abuse material on his phone, which he had voluntarily handed over. He admitted viewing such content, leading to 4 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. He's currently being held without bail, deemed a substantial danger to the community.
It's a stark contrast to his previous arrest record, which, while extensive, primarily involved disorderly conduct, trespassing, and fare evasion. This new charge of child exploitation represents a significant escalation into truly serious criminal behavior, far beyond his previous pattern of disruption.
Absolutely. And the text makes it clear that despite his actions, Zinn had no connection to the actual shooter, Tyler Robinson. There was a wave of misinformation labeling him a crisis actor or linking him to 9/11. Angela, how were these conspiracy theories handled?
They were immediately and thoroughly debunked by fact-checkers. The video of him describing 9/11 in New York is authentic, but it's completely unrelated to the Kirk shooting. He was absolutely not the actual shooter, nor was he a crisis actor. These claims were amplified by certain individuals, notably NFL player Antonio Brown, who spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about Zinn, which were widely condemned. Authorities confirmed he merely hindered the investigation, he was not involved in the actual murder plot.
So, ultimately, George Zinn is a deeply isolated individual whose pattern of attention-seeking behavior escalated dramatically. Charles, given his backstory of early adoption and lack of family, how do you see his life arc?
It's a tragic arc, Alice. His initial adoption, with its missing pieces and early loss of his adoptive parents, appears to have left a void that he spent his entire life trying to fill. The research states that after being banned from church property, Utah politicians and activists became the only social interaction he had with anybody. This was a poor substitute for family and community. He was constantly seeking belonging and recognition, even if it meant negative attention or disruption. It's a stark example of how a lack of early, stable connections can manifest in desperate, attention-seeking behaviors throughout life.
And that desperation ultimately led him to obstruct a murder investigation and, more gravely, revealed a darker, more serious side to his character with the child exploitation charges. He truly did become known nationally, but for all the wrong reasons. His life is a complex tapestry of mental health challenges, chronic attention-seeking, and now, serious criminality.
That's all for today. A big thank you to our guest researcher, David Morgan, for providing our topic.
Had dust on his boots, but love in his stare. Never asked for much, just a place in the choir, and a world that still knew right from the liar. When good men die, the world goes awry. The stars lose their place in the sky. The truth gets sold for $1 in pride, and the future is changed